Welcome to If Numbers Could Talk. My name is KEILYN. If Numbers Could Talk is a part of the Thinkering group. You can find us over at thinkering.space. You can also find at Thinkering Space the Thinkering Talks podcast, the Exofathom podcast, along with the Plank Talks with Joe. When you get a chance, please check out our merchandise. We have merchandise on our website, thinkering.space, as well as merchandise at teespring.com/thinkering shop. Please visit, grab a t-shirt, grab a mug. We'll appreciate it. And when you do, feel free to let us know that you've decided to become a member of any of our fan clubs. Testing. Hello. Wow. I want to apologize to anyone who has been here with me for the last 5 minutes of me discussing the two players that we will be talking about today. I was having some microphone difficulties and was not aware. Now, for those who are here with us, and those who have been here with us before, you know that we do this live. So that past 5 minutes, I was simply warming up my voice, warming up my voice, because you guys have no clue what I was talking about. Here, let me update you just a little bit. And again, I apologize. Thank you for those who are still here. Nobody got in the comments and said anything to me. I'm a little like, come on, guys. But I was talking about the two players we're going to be discussing today. And the two players we're going to be discussing today, one is currently on the Hall of Fame ballot to go into the Hall of Fame this year to be nominated in as a Hall of Famer. And the other is a current player. The current player plays for the #1 team in the NBA today. He is their starting center. His name is Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is listed at 7'1", 258 pounds. This is his 8th year in the NBA, and he was drafted as the 27th pick of the first round in 2013, directly to the Utah Jazz. The player I'll be comparing him to, or pitting him up against today, is, again, a guy who is currently retired, on the list to become a Hall of Famer. I think this might be his second time on the list. And his name is Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace was listed at is listed to have played in the NBA at 6'9", 240 pounds. Now, Ben Wallace is on the very, very, very short list of, I think, 3 gentlemen who played in the NBA who were noted as being able to slow down Shaquille O'Neal, make Shaq look like a human, not like Super Shaq, not like Superman, but just make Shaq look like a human who was playing basketball at a high level. Ben Wallace is on that list of people who were able to succeed and bring Shaq down to the common man size, at least compared to what other people did. If we're being honest, this is Shaquille O'Neal. He still ran crazy rampant over everyone. However, Ben Wallace is listed as one of the men who were able to decently and effectively defend Shaquille O'Neal. So this is the gentleman that when I see Rudy Gobert, I think, wow, there are some flashes of Ben. I don't think they per se have the same offensive game, but a very similar defensive game. As I go through the numbers and the stats, the numbers have talked to me quite a bit, and I'll let you know what they said to me. And I'll tell you up front from the gate. One of the main things it said to me is Rudy Gobert may be a little more gifted offensively than Ben Wallace, and or he is being utilized differently or in a different manner in which he's able to score more in the system he's in versus the system that Ben Wallace was in. Now, as I said, Rudy Gobert was the 27th pick of the 2013 playoffs. However, Ben Wallace was not drafted. If I remember correctly, Ben Wallace was picked up by the Chicago Bulls and then sent over to or picked up later by the Detroit Pistons. He was not drafted. He did not get his name called on draft night. I think that's pretty interesting for the career he had. Ben Wallace played for Detroit, the Detroit Pistons, the Washington Bullets or the Washington Wizards, Chicago Bulls, Orlando Magic, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. These are all teams that Ben Wallace played for. However, he only won the ring with one of these teams. Now, we've went over just briefly who was and wasn't drafted, who is already retired, the size difference in these guys, 6'9" versus 7'1", 240 pounds to 258 pounds. That is one of the very few places that these guys differ, aside from the fact that Ben Wallace played 16 years and Rudy Gobert is currently on his 8th year, which means he is only 50%. If he were to play the exact same amount of years of Ben Wallace, he is only 50% through that journey. And I think he'll play a little bit longer than 16 years. But you never know. So actually, I think you do know. Let me pause on that speculation. So Rudy Gobert is about 28. If we gave him 34, give him 6 years, so Rudy Gobert probably get more so around 4. So he might end up at around 16 years himself. Maybe he'll push it to that 16th year. And I don't know. But with the way medical works today, the way these guys are able to keep healthy, if these guys are able to stay healthy, Rudy Gobert could definitely play more than 8 years in the NBA. Ben Wallace and Rudy Gobert. Again, that is our comparison today. Let's start with games. Ben Wallace played a total of 1,088 NBA games in his career. In those 1,088 games, Ben Wallace averaged 5.7 points, 9.6 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 1.3 steals, 2 blocks, 1 turnover, and 1.9 personal fouls in every game on average that Ben Wallace played. Rudy Gobert has played to date a total of 542 games, averaging 12 points, 11.3 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 0.7 steals, 2.2 blocks, 1.6 turnovers, and 2.6 personal fouls. Now, for two highly defensive and highly active players, in my opinion, the personal foul numbers are extremely low for two highly aggressive and somewhat mobile big men. They jump at nearly everything. They are looking to toss every shot to the stands. And they also, if they don't get to toss your shot, they're looking to put a little bit of touch on you to make sure you're aware you came into their house. So for Ben Wallace to average in his career 1.9 personal fouls and Rudy Gobert to only be averaging 2.6 personal fouls, where I am aware that guards are averaging 3.6, 3.2, 2.8 personal fouls a game on the perimeter. So your big man who is averaging 2 blocks, both of these guys are averaging 2 or more blocks. Rudy Gobert to date, Ben Wallace for his career. So averaging 2 blocks and nearly averaging less than 2 personal fouls as a big man, that is impressive. That is highly impressive. And that's one of those things I was talking about a moment ago. When you think of, excuse me, Rudy Gobert on the offensive side may be quite different than Ben Wallace on the offensive side. However, if you put them both defensively, this is incredible. This is incredible. Now, excuse me. Let's discuss this sip of water I just took. Let's discuss their percentages. Now, these are centers. These are true centers. These aren't your centers who are looking to take jump shots. These centers are hardly even looking for anything other than a putback. They're not looking for the ball on the post, on the block. They're not posting up. They're looking for rebounds and maybe a putback. So let's look at their percentages for big men. Ben Wallace averaged in his career 47% from the field, 14% from the three-point line, and 41% from the free throw line. 41%. Now, keep in mind that in the Ben Wallace, Shaquille O'Neal era, it was common for big men to just not be able to shoot free throws. Not exactly sure why it was acceptable, but it was common. So again, Ben Wallace in his career, 47% from the field, 14% from the three-point line. That's in total. And 41% from the free throw line. 41% from the free throw line. Eesh. Rudy Gobert to date in his career, 65% from the field. 65% from the field. Rudy Gobert has only taken a total of 6 three-pointers in his entire career, and he has missed all of them. So Rudy Gobert has 0% from the three-point line in his career so far, with 63% from the free throw line. 63% from the free throw line, which somehow is high. If Rudy Gobert was a big man back in Ben Wallace's day, he may have been the best shooting big man next to, say, a Dirk Nowitzki on the free throw line. On the free throw line. I'm not saying he was pulling jumpers. Please do not misquote me. So I sit and I think, highly active defenders. Rudy Gobert is averaging a double-double for his career. And Ben Wallace was just dominant. I mean, his numbers as far as offense doesn't really make you think he was. But considering he was on the team with guys like Rasheed Wallace, Chauncey Billups, Richard Hamilton, I mean, Lindsey Hunter was coming off the bench. I'm not sure he needed to score. I'm sure he could have, but I'm not sure he needed to. Whereas Rudy Gobert in today's NBA, it's high, it's high mobility, a lot of shooting, a lot of ball movement, back screen, down screen, up screen, between screen, go through the body, in the body. Okay, now I'm just exaggerating. But my point is, in Rudy Gobert's position, he's almost being challenged to have to score more to kind of draw the defenders down and give the other guys an opportunity. Whereas in Ben Wallace's day, on average, the big men pretty much were just down there by themselves. And if the ball went to the post, everybody just waited to see what the big men were going to do. So the game is different. So I can understand why Rudy Gobert has more numbers offensively, but the percentages for Rudy Gobert is where he stands out. I mean, 65% from the field, 63% from the free throw line, not shooting 3-pointers to not damage your percentages. I mean, it just makes sense. So let's get on to their awards. That's right. Before we get to the totals, I'm going to talk about their awards. If I could find the numbers, I would talk about allergies too, but yeah, springtime. But let's talk about their awards. Ben Wallace and Rudy Gobert. Excuse me. Ben Wallace and Rudy Gobert. So I'm going to just break this down really fast. Ben Wallace has one NBA championship that he won with the Detroit Pistons in 2004 finals versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Sad, sad, sad day for me. But hey, this is an emotional situation. We're talking about the numbers. And the numbers say that Ben Wallace has one NBA championship, one with the Detroit Pistons in 2004. Rudy Gobert has 0 NBA championships. However, looking at what his team is currently doing, I'll get to the Utah Jazz and their record at the end of this. But the Utah Jazz are currently dominating the NBA, same as the Phoenix Suns, which is quite interestingly enough, but nobody will talk about that if you go to your forums today. But Rudy Gobert is a very large part of why the Utah Jazz are the #1 team in the NBA today. He is a very large part of that. And the fact that you pretty much just surround him with guys who can create their own shot and or guys who are waiting to just catch and shoot, it makes them very, very dangerous. And every single guy on that team seemingly can defend at least 3 different positions. And that in itself is a benefit. Now, I'm not a Utah Jazz fan. I am an LA Laker fan, but I am a basketball fan first. So I have to just acknowledge these things when I see them. All-Stars. Ben Wallace has 4 All-Star appearances. Rudy Gobert so far has 2. So halfway through those 16 years, Rudy Gobert has half the amount of All-Stars and half the amount of rings, but we'll get there. Well, actually, we won't get there. We covered that already. Block champion. Now, this isn't something you get to talk about very often. The block champion. Both of these gentlemen, Ben Wallace and Rudy Gobert, have led the league in blocks at least one time in their career. They have both been the block champion for at least one season thus far for Rudy, and in his career for Ben. Ben Wallace was 5 times NBA player, named to the All-NBA team 5 times. Rudy Gobert has been nominated to the All-NBA teams 3 times. Ben Wallace has 6 All-Defensive nominations, while Rudy Gobert has 4 All-Defensive nominations. Rudy Gobert has 0 rebound championships, which means he led the league in rebounds 0 times so far. Whereas Ben Wallace has led the league. He was the rebound champion on 2 separate occasions. 2 separate occasions. But let's talk about the big award when it comes to defenders, big men. Specifically, big men. It's always a wing or a big, someone who's mobile, who's blocking and stealing and running and jumping and Let's talk about the Defensive Player of the Year award. Rudy Gobert has 2 thus far in his 8-year career. Rudy Gobert has gathered 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards. That is quite impressive. Quite impressive. And I think he's coming up close. He's nipping on the heels of a guy like I don't know, Ben Wallace, a guy who has 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Both times, on 2 separate occasions, Ben Wallace was the back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. Nearly 5 times if you consider that it was 2 years and then a year off and then another 2 years. So that 1 year, I want to say that year was 2004, the year that they actually won the championship. He was not nominated as the Defensive Player of the Year. Of course, that means he had to probably sacrifice a couple of defensive plays and things that may have got him noticed to get that one in the middle, but they got the ring that year. So I'm sure it was worth giving up those extra things or just giving up those extra plays, whatever plays you thought might have gotten you the ticket or the push through. I'm sure he had to do a couple of other things, maybe score more offensively, put a little more work in on that. And or simply, reserve that energy and know when you were going to need it. So again, Rudy Gobert has 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards to date in his 8-year career. Ben Wallace in his 16-year career gained 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards on 2 back-to-back 2 back-to-back acclamations. 2 back-to-back seasons. How about that? 4? You guys know what I mean. So from there, we're going to talk about their totals, their totals, the totality of the work that they put in to get thus far so that we can read these numbers and present them to you. I appreciate you. I read the Oxford last week, so yeah. So, excuse me. I apologize. Ouch. So here we are. Totals is our next column. And it is in the totals that I must ask, do we ever consider how big men score? I mean, we talk about the Shaqs and the Dirk Nowitzkis and the David Robinsons of the world, the superstar bigs of the world. But aside from defense, nobody really talked about Ben Wallace. So nobody would ever consider how many points he's made, how many blocks, how many rebounds, because nobody talks about Ben Wallace when they think of the greatest centers of all time. They should, at least when they think of the greatest defensive centers of all time, defensive players of all time. But even when I hear people talk about the greatest defensive players, they go straight to wings and guards. Bigs are left out. So let's discuss the total points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, turnovers, and personal fouls for 2 big men from the NBA. Ben Wallace, in his career, had a total of 6,254 points, 10,482 rebounds, 1,437 assists, 1,369 steals, 2,137 blocks, with 1,061 turnovers and 2,078 personal fouls in Ben Wallace's NBA career. While Rudy Gobert has a total of, today, remember, Rudy Gobert is still playing, 6,521 points, 6,098 rebounds, 731 assists, 365 steals, 1,215 blocks, 886 turnovers, with 1,398 personal fouls. Now, for Ben Wallace to have played 16 years and Rudy Gobert to only have played 8, half of that, his numbers are mighty close to Ben Wallace's already, which says, will he pass him in a lot of these numbers? And of course, yes, Rudy will pass Ben Wallace in numbers. Will he pass him in accolades? I don't know. Will he pass them on the scale for us as one of the greater defensive players, greater defenders? I don't know. He doesn't have to guard Shaq. He doesn't have to guard anyone like Shaq. And the closest thing he may have is a Joel Embiid, which not sure he can guard. But that's a whole nother conversation because this is a team game. So when I say that, I'm sure some people are going to be like, oh, well, there was this one game. And listen, it's a team game. Believe me when I tell you, you don't often see Rudy Gobert out on the perimeter. And when you do, he's getting blown by. So on average, he's a very intelligent defender. First off, let's say that. He's a very intelligent defender. So he's smart enough to know where his limits are. I only question with the amount of time he's been in the league, 8 years, and versus who I'm putting him up against, a Ben Wallace, who was in the league for 16 years, his numbers are mighty close. And I think if he continues at this rate, he's not only going to pass Ben, Utah might end up with a ring. Yeah, I'm putting it on Rudy Gobert. I'm not talking about Donovan or Joe Ingles. I'm putting it on Rudy Gobert. If he continues to play like this, they could end up with a ring. Maybe not this year, maybe next year, maybe this year. Who knows? But it's possible. So from there, we've talked about their season careers. What about their playoff careers? What about their playoff careers? I'm about to get into that. We've talked about their awards. Some of those awards wouldn't exist, like the championship, without their playoff careers. So let's get to that. Rudy Gobert has made a total of 4 playoff appearances with the Utah Jazz and played a total of 32 games. 32 games in 4 playoff appearances. That sounds to me like they at least made it to the second round every time so far. Ben Wallace has made a total of 8 playoff appearances. 8 playoff appearances, totaling 130 games. 8 playoff appearances for 130 games. Rudy Gobert averaged in the playoffs in his 32 games, 13.2 points, 10.6 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 0.8 steals, 1.9 blocks, 1.5 turnovers, and 3.3 personal fouls, which means he ticked up the amount of times he was actually taking swipes and making plays that probably the referees didn't quite agree with. In the playoffs, he make much more of those, which most people do. Ben Wallace, in his playoff career, in 130 games, he averaged 7.2 points, 11.2 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.9 blocks, 1 even turnovers with 2.3 personal fouls. Again, most people foul just a little bit more than usual in the playoffs. Calls are tighter, and of course, you're going to be a little more aggressive because you are hungry. But what about their playoff percentages? I mean, if you're in the playoffs, you're shooting the ball, you're laying it up, you're dunking it, you're shooting free throws, you're going to miss a couple of those. So that's going to change your percentages, right? I agree. Rudy Gobert in the playoffs averaged 64% from the field with 0% from the three-point line because he did not shoot and has not shot 1 3-pointer in his playoff career. Rudy Gobert in the playoffs averages 57% from the free throw line. 57% from the free throw line for Rudy Gobert in the playoffs. Ben Wallace in the playoffs averages 48% with 0% three-pointers in the playoffs. Ben Wallace had never shot in his career a three-pointer during the playoffs. And from the free throw line, Ben Wallace averaged 42% from the free throw line, 42%, which is still on par with how much he averaged in the regular season. Again, in that era, big men shooting just wasn't something you worried about. Big men don't shoot free throws. They're too strong. They're too big. The ball's too small. Whatever reasoning we put behind it way back then, it was just common. Now, with these type of playoffs and everybody having, 64% from the field, 48% from the field, 11 rebounds, 13 points, 7 points. What were these totals? What were the total blocks? What were the total assists? What were the total points? I get that recon for you. I got you. Let's find out right now. In Rudy Gobert's 32 playoff games, he has a total of 423 points, 338 rebounds, 37 assists, 26 steals, 60 rebounds, 48 turnovers, and 106 personal fouls for Rudy Gobert thus far of his NBA playoff career. Ben Wallace, on the other hand, in his 130 playoff games has a total of 939 points, 1,454 rebounds, 173 assists, 199 steals. If only I got that one extra, right? 199 steals, 250 blocks, 136 turnovers, with 296 personal fouls for Ben Wallace in his NBA playoff career. Now, that is the total numbers for both of these gentlemen. Again, as you begin to put them up against one another, you start thinking to yourself, and you're looking at Rudy Gobert like, wow, he is really on track to do some real damage in this league. He's been around for a while. He's learned his position. He's learned his cause, his niche, so to speak, and he knows exactly what he's out there to do. And he probably knows what everybody else is out there to do too at this point. So with that, I want to close with this. I am very, very concerned as a Laker fan because the Utah Jazz looks like they're on path to make history. What do you think I mean when I say history? No. They're not going to be like 72-10, 73-9, anything like that. They're not even going to be, I don't even think they'll hit 60 as far as wins. But when you're the number one team in the NBA, and you've been the number one team pretty much since the opening of the season, there's a target on your back, and there's been a target on your back for the entire time. Excuse me. Please, I apologize. When there's a target on your back, what you have to keep in mind is the worst teams, and I mean record-wise, this is the NBA. There's no such thing as a worse basketball. Like there's just worse records, right? Teams that aren't gelling as well, systems that aren't working. When you have a target on your back, a team who hasn't even figured out what system they're working can still come in and beat you. These guys have 14 games left. The Utah Jazz have 14 games left. Their current record is 50-18. I only expect them to lose at max 6 of the next 14 games. I really don't expect them to lose 6. I expect them to probably lose 3. But if we're just talking average numbers, throwing some things, let's say maybe they lose 6, so they win 8. They'll be 58-24, and they'll still be the number one team. They'll still be the number one team at 58-24. Well, 58-24 is better. It's better than the record the Detroit Pistons had in 2004 when they ended the season to go on and win the NBA championship and beat the Kobe and Shaq Lakers in 2004. I'm sorry. Let me explain. The Detroit Pistons were a pure defensive team. The defenders were surrounded by guys who could create their own shots or who were ready to catch and shoot at any given moment. Didn't I say that at the beginning about Utah? I think I did. Well, here, let me tell you what their record was. The Detroit Pistons in 2004 during the season, their record was 54-28. Now, let's go back to what I just said about Utah. If they lose 6 of their next 14 games, they still end the season 58-24. So if you end the season 58-24 and the team who won in 2004 ended their season 54-28, I think you're on path to do something close to what they did. Huge upset, maybe. Now, who will they be upsetting? If they make it to the finals, they'll be upsetting the entire West. That's the Lakers and the Clippers and Golden State and the Suns and the all of them. It's a huge upset. I mean, not the biggest upset, but it is a large upset. Trailblazers is a big upset. But who would they have to upset to win it? Will it be Giannis? The Bucks? Will it be the Sixers? Will Miami get back there? Who knows? We don't know on any of that. We don't know any of that yet. What we do know, Rudy Gobert is playing a very strong game. Mind you, I'm not even giving you his numbers this year, which are immaculate. I'm not giving you this year's numbers. I didn't give you Ben Wallace's numbers on that championship year. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you their full career just to show you the kind of movements. This guy, Rudy Gobert, has very similar numbers at his 8-year mark that Ben Wallace had at his 16-year mark. And their teams, the team that Ben Wallace won a championship with, is almost looking identical to the team that Rudy Gobert is currently playing on, which is number 1 in the NBA. I've been enjoying watching them play. I don't think I've ever watched Utah play as much. I'm 32, but I wouldn't watch a lot of Carl and John Stockton. I didn't watch a lot of Utah games back then. We still had Kobe, Shaq. Excuse me, not quite during that. Well, yeah, we did. We still had Kobe, Shaq. There was an era we had Magic, you know. But right now, what I'm looking at, just my knowledge of basketball, Utah is scary. And it's because of the gentleman I just discussed, Rudy Gobert. That's what makes them so scary. You could watch a game and they don't have Donovan Mitchell. And you'll think Donovan's on the floor by how great Rudy is leading that team defensively. The same way Ben would pick up the reins when the offensive guys weren't able to come in some night. You know, everybody doesn't show up every night. And Ben would do the exact same thing that I see Rudy doing some nights, just picking up the slack. Hey, maybe I'm not going to score an immaculate amount. Maybe I'm not going to drop 40 or 50 like you, but I'm going to stop that guy from over there from dropping 40 or 50 on you. I got you back. That is the kind of player that these guys are. That is what I see translating in Rudy Gobert's career, and I'm thoroughly entertained. This has been If Numbers Could Talk. I appreciate you for your time. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I love this. I'm sure you can tell. I'm sure you can see. I absolutely enjoy bringing this to you guys. So please continue to leave me comments, emails. For those who have other ways to contact me, drop me a line that way. Let me know. Do you enjoy this? Are you looking for something different? What is it that you are looking for that is different? I am more than willing to branch out. I always appreciate your time, whether you're listening on any of the audio casts, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook. I appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the follow button on any of the podcast streaming sites. And by all means, I'll see you guys next week here on If Numbers Could Talk. Tune in tomorrow to the Thinkering Talks pages. We'll be going live with Screen Time Continuum, which is myself, Nick, and Dijon. And if you're interested in classified documents or just learning more about the ethereal, aliens, things that are a little out of the box, but somewhere there's information on them, check out the Exofathom podcast, which is also streaming through their Exofathom YouTube, the Exofathom Facebook site, and or Thinker and Talks page, where you can find every single one of our podcasts all together. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Take care of yourself and those you love. Have a great evening.